All worlds begin with Demon Slayer. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1, The Man with the Power of Ghosts and Gods. The hyperdimensional crossing system is activated. Current world, Demon Slayer world. Starting rewards. 1 Demon Slayer sword. Demon God contract is signed. Demon God Devourer is obtained. Demon God Devourer, a person with this ability, can nourish the contracted demon god by devouring demon, so that the holder can borrow more powerful demon god power from the demon god. Current Demon God Devourer level, F level. Core task released. Help Nezuko become human again. Note, the death of the task target will be regarded as a task failure. Task completion reward. Get permanent use of the hyperdimensional crossing system. Get 100% of the power of the first dimension wall and unlock the next dimension world. Task failure penalty. This dimension crossing ends immediately, and the system will humanely deal with the host. The dense and fast mechanical sound entered Bai Yu's mind. Before Bai Yu could figure out what was going on, Bai Yu fell into the snow. Fortunately, the place where Bai Yu fell was soft snow, otherwise it would be very difficult. Bai Yu suddenly turned over and stood up from the snow. He was thinly dressed and suddenly shuddered, and then sneezed. What's going on? Is this heaven? What's the matter with the voice in my mind just now? Bai Yu looked around and muttered to himself in confusion. Demon Slayer world? Is it the alien world where humans and demons coexist and demons eat people? Isn't that an anime? Bai Yu suddenly felt a palpitation. He unexpectedly traveled to the dimension of anime. Anime fan Bai Yu who has watched this anime knows that there is a demon king named Musen Kibutsuji in this world. This guy has the ability to turn humans into demons. Anyone who is stained with his blood will immediately become a demon who eats people, completely fall into the demon world, and let him command. It's really fate. I didn't expect that I would get a new life again. Just when Bai Yu was thinking about what was going on, a flash of light suddenly appeared above Bai Yu's head, and a black and purple demon slaying sword cut through the air and fell down with a burst of broken sound. Bai Yu felt the cold on his head, looked up suddenly, and then subconsciously stepped back a few steps. Because Bai Yu was in the thick snow, his focus became unstable while he stepped back, and he ended up sitting on the ground. The next moment, the demon slaying sword was inserted into the snow in front of Bai Yu's crotch, scaring Bai Yu so much that he broke out in a cold sweat. Oh my gosh, I almost became a eunuch. Bai Yu sighed inwardly. Current mainline mission released. Stop Tomioka Giyu from killing Nezuko. Penalty for mission failure. This dimension crossing ends immediately, and the system will humanely treat the host. Reward for mission completion. Obtain the water breathing technique. Mastery. Introduction to mission related characters. Tomioka Giyu, one of the 9 pillars of the Demon Slayer core, the successor of the water breathing school, with super strength. Nezuko, an innocent girl who became a demon because of the blood of Musen Kibutsuji. As the broadcast of the superdimensional crossing system came to his mind again, Bai Yu looked at the demon slaying sword in front of his crotch. And Bai Yu sorted out his thoughts little by little, and then gradually reacted. Bai Yu, who had completely reacted, stood up suddenly, and then held the demon slaying sword in his hand. At this time, Bai Yu had noticed that a small map appeared in his field of vision, and there was a countdown time at the bottom of the small map. Time passed second by second, and soon there were only 3 minutes left. Knowing that there was not much time left, Bai Yu cursed in his heart, and stopped thinking about it. He solved this time-limited task first. Immediately, Bai Yu ran towards the location of this mission according to the map prompts of the superdimensional crossing system. After running for a while, Bai Yu's breathing could not keep up with the rhythm, and he was panting very hard. Just when Bai Yu was feeling uncomfortable, dark purple tattoo-like patterns began to appear on his body. The most obvious change was in Bai Yu's right hand holding the demon slaying sword. Chapter 2, Grand Debut. At first glance, Bai Yu's right hand was no longer a normal human hand, but a monster's hand, especially at the joints of the fingers, where sharp exoskeletons emerged. Then, the skin of Bai Yu's right hand turned red, and dark purple lines were printed on the red skin, which looked extremely strange. There were also dark purple lines on Bai Yu's face, and his originally normal eyes also changed. The white of the eyes turned black, and the black pupils turned purple. Even the originally black hair turned purple in an instant. Bai Yu naturally couldn't see the changes on his face. The most intuitive thing he could see was the changes on his right hand. As the changes were completed, a group of purple mist gathered behind Bai Yu and followed Bai Yu closely. Bai Yu felt as if his body had a very powerful force. The next second, Bai Yu's speed increased by several levels, and the whole person turned into a purple lightning and shuttled through the white snow-capped mountains. Is this the additional ability of the Ghost Devourer? Bai Yu sighed in his heart. This is simply a plug-in. I know, if I had come a little earlier, your family might not have died. But time cannot be reversed. Wake up. Let this strong and pure anger become the firm driving force that makes you stronger. With only a fragile heart, you can't protect or heal your sister, let alone avenge your family. As Tomioka Giyu looked at Tanjiro and sighed in his heart, the Nichiren sword in Tomioka Giyu's hand slowly raised up. Tanjiro, who was kneeling in the snow, saw Tomioka Giyu's actions and knew that he wanted to kill his sister Nezuko, and immediately Tanjiro became extremely nervous. Tomioka Giyu didn't care about Tanjiro's emotions, but in the next second he inserted the Nichiren sword in his hand into Nezuko's chest. No, stop. Tanjiro shouted out immediately, and at the same time, Tanjiro's body also reacted, picking up a stone in the snow and throwing it at Tomioka Giyu. Tomioka used the handle of his knife to block Tanjiro's stone attack. In an instant, Tomioka's pupils shrank suddenly, and his face suddenly changed. The sudden change startled Tomioka. What surprised Tomioka was not the stone thrown by Tanjiro, but Bai Yu, who arrived at the critical moment. Bai Yu, who appeared at the critical moment, was extremely decisive. After all, with the blessing of the Devourer of Demons and Gods, even if he couldn't kill Tomioka, it should be no problem to stop him from killing Nezuko. In addition, he attacked unexpectedly, and the success rate would definitely not be low. Tanjiro was also stunned by this sudden change. He was originally planning to take the opportunity to pick up the axe and fight with Tomioka, but he froze in place. At this time, the demon-slaying sword in Bai Yu's hand fell on Tomioka's sun-wheel sword. The two weapons met, and a lot of sparks were immediately rubbed out. Tanjiro looked at the strange-looking Bai Yu and sniffed carefully. After careful identification, Tanjiro did not smell the smell of the ghost who killed his family on Bai Yu. This disappointed Tanjiro, as he thought Bai Yu might be the ghost who killed his family. Chapter 3 I'm just a kind person passing by. Tomioka Giyu's eyes were also fixed on Bai Yu. Looking at the extremely weird Bai Yu, Tomioka Giyu also subconsciously regarded Bai Yu as a ghost. Bai Yu naturally didn't know that he was regarded as a ghost by Tomioka Giyu. Now Bai Yu had only one thing to do, that was to protect Nezuko from Tomioka Giyu, because Nezuko's life and death also concerned Bai Yu's life. Although Bai Yu had already realized his life before, Bai Yu didn't want to be inexplicably treated humanely by the so-called system. Even if he had to die, he had to die clearly, and at least leave a complete body to his family. Bai Yu didn't want to die in such a foreign world. You can't touch this girl, Bai Yu said to Tomioka Giyu in a cold voice. Tomioka Giyu also looked at Bai Yu coldly and asked, did Musen Kibutsuji send you here? Hearing this, Bai Yu naturally didn't understand what Tomioka Giyu said. He was a superdimensional traveler, how could he be someone else's younger brother? I'm just a passing demon slayer. Anyway, you can't kill this girl. Bai Yu gave himself the identity of a kind demon slayer. Water breathing type 1 water surface slash. As soon as Bai Yu finished speaking, Tomioka Giyu launched the swordsmanship of the water breathing school and instantly chopped down Bai Yu's demon slayer sword with a horizontal slash. Bai Yu was knocked back and slid back for several meters. The repelled Bai Yu did not attack immediately because Bai Yu felt that Tomioka Giyu's murderous intent had temporarily subsided. Obviously, his words attracted the attention of Tomioka Giyu. Demon Slayer? You are not a ghost. Are you here to hunt ghosts too? This was the first time that Tomioka Giyu heard the title of Demon Slayer. From the literal meaning, it should be similar to the meaning of a ghost hunter. It's just that Giyu Tomioka has never seen such a weird ghost hunter. This appearance really makes it impossible to regard him as a normal human being. As one of the 9 pillars of the Demon Slayer core, Giyu Tomioka is very familiar with ghosts because he has been dealing with ghosts for many years. Therefore, before confirming whether Bai Yu's words are true or false, Giyu Tomioka has already analyzed and compared the aura on Bai Yu. The result really surprised Giyu Tomioka. The aura on Bai Yu was not the aura of a ghost, but a kind of aura he had never come into contact with. Ghost? I'm not that kind of man-eating monster. I'm just a kind person passing by. Bai Yu smiled contemptuously. After saying that, Bai Yu looked at Tomioka Giyu, and seeing that he was still very cautious, Bai Yu continued, ghosts are afraid of sunlight. We will have a chance to verify whether I'm a ghost or not later. Now all you have to do is let the girl in your hand live. Since you are a demon slayer who kills ghosts, you should know the danger of ghosts. If I let her go, more innocent people will be hurt. Tomioka Giyu righteously reminded Bai Yu. My sister won't eat people, I promise. You must believe me. Tanjiro spoke up for his sister at this time, but Tomioka Giyu just glanced at Tanjiro lightly and ignored Tanjiro. Finally, Tomioka Giyu turned his gaze to Bai Yu. He wanted to know why Bai Yu had to let him let Nezuko go. Hearing this, Bai Yu was silent for a long time. Regarding this issue, Bai Yu didn't know how to explain it to Tomioka Giyu. You can't say that killing her is equivalent to killing me. Chapter 4. Gambling with Tomioka Giyu. She is different from other demons. She has the possibility of turning into a human, so you can't kill her. Bai Yu explained. Upon hearing this, both Tomioka Giyu and Tanjiro were surprised. Of course, Tanjiro was the most delighted. After all, Nezuko is her only relative now, and Tanjiro naturally wants his sister to turn into a human again. Really? Senior? Can you really turn my sister into a human? Tanjiro asked impatiently, as if he had grabbed the last straw. Bai Yu did not answer Tanjiro's words immediately. Bai Yu's attention was on Tomioka Giyu. After all, Nezuko was still in his hands. If he was not careful, this guy might really take the opportunity to kill Nezuko. On the other hand, Tomioka Giyu was surprised by Bai Yu's words, but after calming down, he still didn't believe it. If it was really possible to turn a demon into a human, how could the Demon Slayer Corps, who had been fighting against demons for hundreds of years, not know about this method? So Tomioka Giyu still had a skeptical attitude towards Bai Yu's words, but seeing Bai Yu was so confident, and said it as if it were true, Tomioka Giyu asked, tell me your method. Hearing this, Bai Yu secretly sighed that Tomioka Giyu was really difficult to deal with. Bai Yu certainly didn't know how to turn a ghost into a human. The reason why Bai Yu said this was entirely based on his analysis of the task. Since the task asked him to turn Nezuko into a human, it means that this is not something that there is no way to do. If there is really no way to turn Nezuko into a human, it conflicts with the task issued by the system. Such an awesome system obviously won't have such a low level bug. I'm still researching this. Don't worry, she definitely won't eat people with me watching. If you don't believe me, let this girl go now, and see if she will eat this boy. After all, he also said that his sister won't eat people. It's a good opportunity for this boy to see clearly whether his sister will eat people. If this girl makes a move, even if I lose, you can kill this girl at that time, and this boy won't be able to refute that you are wrong. If this girl doesn't make a move, then I win, and you have to let this girl go. Bai Yu said calmly, as if everything was in his calculation. Tomioka Giyu didn't expect Bai Yu to play such a gamble with him. He was really bold. Just using an innocent person as bait. Tomioka Giyu always felt that it was a bit inhumane. Bai Yu knew that Tomioka Giyu was hesitating, so he turned his attention to Tanjiro and said, boy, now is the time for you to sacrifice yourself heroically. If you believe that your sister will not eat people, agree to this bet. Tanjiro was stunned for a moment when he was suddenly called out, and then he immediately agreed to the bet made by Bai Yu, because Tanjiro believed that his sister would not eat people. Okay, I believe in my senior, and I also believe in my sister, Tanjiro said confidently. Seeing Tanjiro agreed, Bai Yu glanced at Tomioka Giyu again, and then gave him a look to let him go. However, Tomioka Giyu still hesitated, and did not let go of Nezuko immediately. With your ability, are you afraid that you can't save that kid? At most, let that kid learn a lesson. Bai Yu spoke again. This time, Tomioka Giyu slowly let go of Nezuko, and Nezuko, who was let go, suddenly flashed in front of Tanjiro. Seeing this situation, Giyu, Tomioka and Bai Yu couldn't help but become nervous. They were both afraid that Nezuko would really attack Tanjiro. Chapter 5 You Lose. Bai Yu was afraid because he was afraid that if he lost the bet, he would have to fight with Tomioka Giyu and forcibly snatch the person away. Therefore, Bai Yu was always ready to snatch the person away at any time. Although doing so would be breaking his promise, compared with his own life, breaking his promise once is nothing. Anyway, it is not something that hurts the heaven and earth. Nezuko, it's me. I'm Tanjiro. Tanjiro faced the ferocious Nezuko without any fear, but tried to awaken Nezuko's humanity with words. Nezuko looked at Tanjiro for a while, then turned to look at Tomioka Giyu, and made a threatening gesture to him. Tomioka Giyu was shocked by Nezuko's action of protecting Tanjiro, and his heart trembled suddenly. Just when Tomioka Giyu was briefly distracted, Nezuko attacked Tomioka Giyu. Stop, Nezuko. Tanjiro was also frightened by Nezuko's actions and immediately screamed. Bai Yu didn't expect that Nezuko didn't attack Tanjiro, but actually went to attack Tomioka Giyu. This girl is really not afraid of death. Bai Yu was also afraid that things would develop in an uncontrollable direction, so he flashed behind Nezuko and knocked Nezuko unconscious with a knife. Bai Yu caught the fainted Nezuko, and Bai Yu was stunned by her soft body. This was the first time Bai Yu hugged a girl. Although Nezuko is a female ghost now, it does not affect the softness of her body at all. Tomioka Giyu, you lose. Remember to abide by our bet. Unexpectedly, after Bai Yu said this, he felt his whole body soften, his eyes went black, and he fainted. When Bai Yu fainted, Nezuko, who was also fainted, pressed on Bai Yu. Tomioka Giyu didn't expect Bai Yu to faint. Tomioka Giyu was a little confused about this strange guy. Bai Yu, who fainted in the snow, gradually lost his demonic appearance and gradually returned to normal. Seeing this change, Tomioka Giyu was a little surprised. He thought that Bai Yu looked the same as before, but he didn't expect that it was not the case. Tanjiro didn't expect Bai Yu to faint, so he crawled in front of Bai Yu and Nezuko in a panic. At this time, Tomioka Giyu also came over. He was standing aside, looking down at Bai Yu, who was gradually losing his demonic appearance. When Bai Yu's true appearance appeared in front of the two of them, Tomioka Giyu and Tanjiro were a little surprised that Bai Yu was also a young man. Looking at Bai Yu, who was about the same age as himself, Tanjiro couldn't help but admire him. If he hadn't helped just now, who knows what would have happened to his sister. At this time, Tomioka Giyu also squatted down, and then carefully checked Bai Yu. After checking for a long time, Tomioka Giyu didn't find anything abnormal, and the breath was also human. Unwilling to give up, Tomioka Giyu helped Nezuko up first. Tanjiro was nervous when he saw this. After all, Tomioka Giyu wanted to kill Nezuko before. What do you want to do? Are you going to break your promise? Tanjiro questioned. Tomioka Giyu glanced at Tanjiro indifferently, and then said, no. After that, he went about his own business. Tomioka Giyu used the Nichiren sword to cut a bamboo, and then chose a bamboo tube of the right size, to make a muzzle, to prevent Nezuko from biting people. Finally, Tomioka Giyu put the muzzle on Nezuko's mouth. After doing all this, Tomioka Giyu returned to Bai Yu again. He quickly scratched his index finger with the Nichiren sword, and the sharp sword easily cut a cut on the index finger, and blood flowed out. Chapter 6, White Feather Rampage. I saw Tomioka Giyu hanging his bleeding finger in front of Bai Yu. Due to the effect of gravity, the blood fell on Bai Yu's mouth. After about a few dozen milliliters of blood flowed, the bleeding stopped. Then, Tomioka Giyu's face became solemn. Will Bai Yu react to the blood? If so, then Bai Yu is undoubtedly a ghost. If not, then Bai Yu is just a special person. Time passed by. Bai Yu still had no reaction. After confirming Bai Yu's situation, Tomioka Giyu was completely relieved. Tanjiro did not come over, but stayed by his sister Nezuko's side. Although he did not come forward to monitor Tomioka Giyu's every move, Tanjiro still saw what Tomioka Giyu was doing. I don't know how long it took. Bai Yu's scream suddenly broke the tranquility of the snow mountain, and Tomioka Giyu suddenly became alert. At this time, Bai Yu was in pain all over his body, as if his flesh and internal organs were being eaten. This made Bai Yu roll around in the snow. In just a few seconds, Bai Yu fell into a violent state, and his shirt was torn to pieces. The exposed upper body was scalded skin, and it looked like it had just crawled out of blood. Tanjiro was directly frightened by Bai Yu's current situation, and his face showed a frightened expression. Tomioka Giyu had never seen such a situation before, and he didn't know what was going on. Blood. Bai Yu roared in a low voice. Hearing this, Tomioka Giyu was suddenly shocked. Blood. Did Bai Yu start to turn into a ghost? But when? Quick. Give me the blood of a ghost. I want the blood of a ghost. Bai Yu hid the strong discomfort of his body and said to Tomioka Giyu when he still had a trace of reason. Bai Yu never expected that this ghost transformation would have such a side effect. After using it once, he had to use the blood of a ghost to nourish the ghost in his body. What a fucking pit. Fortunately, it didn't ask for human blood, otherwise, I guess I would really be regarded as a ghost. I don't know if Giyu Tomioka can understand what I say at the critical moment. Brother, you have to be more powerful this time. Otherwise, I will really go crazy. The blood of the devil? Giyu Tomioka was even more confused. Bai Yu actually wanted the blood of the devil. What is this operation? Just when Giyu Tomioka was wondering, Bai Yu urged again, hurry up. What are you still hesitating about? After that, the violent Bai Yu punched the ground directly, and the snow flew into the air under the action of the huge force. Seeing this, Giyu Tomioka knew that he couldn't hesitate like this anymore, so he looked at Nezuko. After all, Nezuko was the only demon here, and the only demon who could give Bai Yu was Nezuko. After thinking quickly, Giyu Tomioka made a decision, grabbed Nezuko at once, and then threw it at Bai Yu. Giyu Tomioka's actions were too fast, and Tanjiro had no ability to stop it at all. He could only watch his sister being thrown over. Tanjiro wanted to run over and get Nezuko back, but he was stopped by Tomioka Giyu. The situation was unclear, and letting Tanjiro go would mean he would die. Since this guy doesn't let me kill your sister, he won't kill your sister either. Tomioka Giyu said to Tanjiro. Chapter 7 Plant a Strawberry. As soon as Nezuko was thrown over, Bai Yu noticed it with his keen perception. Bai Yu jumped up and caught Nezuko. Finally, Bai Yu couldn't help but bite Nezuko's neck directly, leaving a scarred strawberry. Bai Yu didn't dare to suck Nezuko's blood without restraint. If he sucked the person to heaven directly, he would also be sucked to heaven. With the help of Nezuko's blood, Bai Yu gradually got better, and the blood red skin gradually faded. Seeing that he was getting better, Bai Yu stopped sucking. When Bai Yu moved his mouth away, Bai Yu saw that Nezuko had woken up at some point and was looking at him with a silly face. Bai Yu was immediately frightened and immediately pushed Nezuko away and then became a little nervous. After a long time, Bai Yu realized that he had behaved a little impolitely, so he coughed a few times and said in a serious tone, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I had to suck your blood. Don't mind it. After saying that, Bai Yu realized that Nezuko was a ghost, so he magically worshipped Nezuko. After Bai Yu did all this, Nezuko still looked at Bai Yu in a cute way, like a wooden man. Bai Yu didn't want to pay attention to Nezuko for the time being, so he patted his body and stood up. Bai Yu, who had returned to normal, shivered violently. It was so damn cold. It was also the first time for Bai Yu to be shirtless in the snow. That kid, take off your clothes and put them on for me. Bai Yu called Tanjiro. The only person who can be called now is Tanjiro. Tomioka Giyu is a cool guy, so Bai Yu will naturally not order him around. Tanjiro reacted and quickly took off his coat, then ran to Bai Yu and finally handed the coat to Bai Yu. Thank you. Bai Yu simply thanked him and took the clothes and put them on himself. Seeing Bai Yu put on the clothes, Tanjiro couldn't help but look at Nezuko beside him. Is my sister okay? Tanjiro asked Bai Yu. Bai Yu waved his hand and said, "It's okay, I just sucked some of her blood, don't worry." Hearing Bai Yu's answer, Tanjiro finally felt relieved. At this time, Tomioka Giyu came over and asked Bai Yu, "What happened just now? Why do you want the blood of the demon?" Hearing this, Bai Yu looked at Tomioka Giyu, then changed his posture and said, "My body is special. Every time I turn on that state, I need the blood of the demon. This is why I'm a demon slayer. What if I don't get the blood of the demon? What will happen?" Tomioka Giyu continued to ask. Bai Yu smiled, and then said, "You will be tortured endlessly by ghosts and gods until you die." Hearing this, Tomioka Giyu really saw that there are such weird people in this world who make a living with ghosts. Since you make a living with ghosts, why do you want to save another ghost? Tomioka Giyu asked, puzzled. You can see that her situation is very special. Maybe she can help me get rid of ghosts and gods. Bai Yu found a reason and said. The real meaning of Bai Yu saying that Nezuko can help him get rid of ghosts and gods is actually that, as long as he completes the task, Bai Yu can go to the next world. Because Bai Yu doesn't like the current world very much. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 8, Tanjiro's Determination. Current main task, stop Tomioka Giyu from killing Nezuko. Task completed. Task rewards issued. Host obtains water breathing technique. Mastery. New task released. Pass the Demon Slayer Corps assessment and join the Demon Slayer Corps. Demon Slayer Corps, founded by the Yubuayashiki family. It is an organization dedicated to killing demons. Task failure penalty. Confiscate the host's mating tools. The host will lose all mating rights in this world. Task completion reward. Obtain a time reversal item. Time limit. Within 5 minutes. Obtain water breathing type 1 to 10 sword technique. Extreme. After Bai Yu explained to Tomioka Giyu, Bai Yu's mind heard the broadcast prompt of the superdimensional crossing system. After knowing the punishment for the failure of the new task, Bai Yu immediately showed a bitter look on his face. If this fails, he will become a eunuch. Damn, how could such a thing happen? After all, we are all descendants of Yan and Huang. How can there be no ancestral Jack? Besides, Bai Yu didn't know how long he would stay in this world. If he didn't have the ancestral Jack, he would have to die alone. This tragic ending was not what Bai Yu wanted to see, so this task had to be completed. Tomioka Giyu naturally didn't know that Bai Yu was complaining about this task in his heart. After listening to Bai Yu's explanation, he looked at Bai Yu and thought for a while. Finally, as if he had made a decision, he turned his gaze to Tanjiro again and said, "If you want to avenge your family, go visit the old man named Yurakoda Kisakonji who lives at the foot of Mount Sajiri. Tell him that it was Tomioka Giyu who asked you to come. There is not much sunlight now, so it should be fine. Remember not to expose your sister to the Sunday." After Tomioka Giyu finished speaking, he glanced at Bai Yu again. As a gust of wind blew up the thick snow, Tomioka Giyu disappeared from everyone's sight, and he obviously left. After Tomioka Giyu left, Tanjiro came to Bai Yu and knelt down. "Thank you, senior. Thank you very much." Bai Yu didn't think there was anything to be thankful for. The reason why he did this was not out of kindness, but because of the system's task. After all, Bai Yu didn't know Tanjiro and Nezuko, so he didn't have any feelings for the two siblings. "There's nothing to thank you for. Your sister is very important to me, so she can't die. It's that simple," Bai Yu said slowly. "Then is it true that the senior can turn my sister into a human?" Tanjiro asked. Bai Yu pondered for a while, and then said, "Well, it takes time. Before you find a way, you'd better become as powerful as the guy just now. Otherwise I may not be able to protect you while protecting your sister. If you die, you won't see your sister turn into a human." Hearing this, the smart Tanjiro naturally understood Bai Yu's words. When Bai Yu was unconscious, Tanjiro also talked to Tomioka Giyu. Bai Yu and Tomioka Giyu's words made Tanjiro more determined to become stronger. "So what are your plans next, senior?" Tanjiro asked again. The question was also a manifestation of Tanjiro's regard for Bai Yu as the backbone. Bai Yu scratched his head and then said, plans. You should tell me about your plans first. I'm going to Sagari Mountain to find senior Urokoda Kisakonji and learn skills. Tanjiro said firmly. Chapter 9 Dealing with the Aftermath. That's perfect. Bai Yu replied. Really? Senior? Well, please take care of me in the future. My name is Tanjiro Kamado, and you can just call me Tanjiro. Tanjiro obviously didn't expect Bai Yu to join him, which made Tanjiro more excited. With Bai Yu joining the group, his sister Nezuko will be much safer. Bai Yu. Bai Yu looked at Tanjiro and replied indifferently. After that, Bai Yu accompanied Tanjiro to find a place to bury his dead family. Tanjiro took Nezuko to worship simply, and Bai Yu waited quietly in the distance without disturbing Tanjiro and his sister. Tanjiro's family is very ordinary. His father died early because of physical reasons when Tanjiro was still young. The family was supported by his mother and eldest son Tanjiro. But now such an ordinary family is shattered in an instant, and Tanjiro's only surviving sister has also become a ghost. Although Nezuko will not take the initiative to eat people now, it cannot change the fact that Nezuko has become a ghost. These things were told to Bai Yu by the kind-hearted Tanjiro when Bai Yu was helping him dig a grave. Bai Yu did not discuss his family with Tanjiro too much, but just listened to him silently telling about his beautiful memories. After doing all this, Tanjiro took his sister to Bai Yu. Tanjiro carefully looked at Bai Yu, who was wearing his father's clothes when he was alive, and couldn't help but feel touched, and then said, Senior Bai Yu, you look like my father. Hearing this, Bai Yu was shocked, and then said unhappily, Tanjiro, what are you talking about? Tanjiro was happy, and then explained, you are wearing my father's clothes when he was alive, so I feel that my father is alive again. Can't you find other clothes for me? Bai Yu looked up and down at his clothes, wishing he could take them off now. However, thinking that it was not good to do so, Bai Yu had no other choice. My clothes are too small, and my brother's clothes are even more out of the question. Only my father's clothes are suitable for you. What? Senior Bai Yu, are you disgusted with my father's clothes? Tanjiro continued. Bai Yu, who knew that there was no way to change clothes, could only stop forcing it. After all, he couldn't take them off and freeze in this snowy mountain. Seeing that Tanjiro misunderstood that he was disgusted, Bai Yu explained, I don't mind. It's just that your father's clothes don't look good on me. Tanjiro thought about it and felt that it was a bit inappropriate, so he said, there are really no other clothes at home. I'll think of a way when we go outside. Bai Yu didn't want to dwell on this, so he urged, let's set off as soon as we're done. After that, the two of them and the ghost set out on a journey to Sagari Mountain to find Urokoda Kisakonji. In order to travel during the day, Tanjiro went to the nearby villages to get a bamboo basket back. Senior, I'm back. Tanjiro returned to the place where Bai Yu and Nezuko rested. Bai Yu was sitting cross-legged outside a cave at this time. When he saw Tanjiro coming back, he just replied lightly, you're back. Tanjiro nodded. Bai Yu glanced at the bamboo basket that Tanjiro brought back, which was leaking some light, and said, Tanjiro, this bamboo basket is not good. It's all leaking. Ghosts don't like sunlight very much. Chapter 10, Ghost. Hearing this, Tanjiro carefully looked at the bamboo basket, and then said, Senior, wait a minute. After that, Tanjiro began to modify the bamboo basket. Bai Yu watched Tanjiro quietly from the side. Bai Yu naturally didn't know how to do this kind of handwork, because Bai Yu was not from that era. After the modification, the airtightness of the bamboo basket was much better, and the sunlight basically couldn't get in. At that time, just cover it with a piece of cloth. Tanjiro took the modified bamboo basket and walked into the cave. After putting Nezuko into the bamboo basket, Bai Yu, Tanjiro and Nezuko, 2 people and 1 ghost, headed towards Sagari Mountain again. At night, Bai Yu, Tanjiro and Nezuko, who could already move out of the bamboo basket, came to the outside of a Buddhist temple. Senior, there is a Buddhist temple, and you can still see the lights. There should be someone there. Let's go and take a look. Tanjiro said to Bai Yu. Bai Yu naturally had no objection. After all, it was late at night and there was just a place to rest. Yeah. Bai Yu nodded and said, let's go in and take a look. Just as Bai Yu finished speaking, Tanjiro's face suddenly changed, and then he said in horror, there is a smell of blood. The mountain road here is steep. Someone must be injured. After that, the kind-hearted Tanjiro pulled Nezuko and ran into the Buddhist temple. Bai Yu had no time to stop him, so he had to follow him. Bai Yu's nose was not as good as Tanjiro's, so he didn't smell the smell of blood at the first time. When Bai Yu ran into the Buddhist temple, Bai Yu vaguely smelled the smell of blood. At this time, Tanjiro was already in front of the door of the Buddhist temple, and then he pushed the door open and asked inside, is the person inside okay? But the next moment, Tanjiro stood there, his face turned pale. Bai Yu, who was a step slower than Tanjiro, came to Tanjiro's side, and then looked into the Buddhist temple, and finally saw a scene that shocked himself. There were several human corpses in the temple, and these corpses had been eaten. The ghost that was eating the corpses was squatting in front of one of the corpses, and making a chewing sound. Bai Yu's expression was extremely solemn, and he made a gesture of drawing his sword to fight. Take Nezuko with you, and go. Bai Yu ordered Tanjiro very quickly and forcefully. Tanjiro was obviously frightened, and didn't hear Bai Yu's words at all. He was still frozen in place without any reaction. What are you doing? Hey. This is my territory. The ghost that was eating people had already sensed the presence of Bai Yu and others, so he stood up and turned around impatiently. This special smell, are you human? The ghost continued to ask himself. As soon as the voice fell, the ghost shot directly at Bai Yu. So fast. Bai Yu was shocked. Since he could no longer dodge this attack, Bai Yu had to instinctively make a defensive posture of parrying. All of a sudden, Bai Yu was knocked out. In midair, Bai Yu swung the demon-slaying sword in his hand towards the ghost's neck. The ghost was slashed by Bai Yu, and then did a backflip to distance himself from Bai Yu. Bai Yu staggered a few times before he managed to stabilize his body. After stabilizing his body, Bai Yu did not attack rashly, nor did he choose to directly activate the ghost transformation. The side effects of the ghost transformation were too torturous, and Bai Yu did not want to enjoy the pain. Chapter 11 Confrontation. From the Demon Slayer core? But it's a pity. The attack just now poses no threat to me, and the wound will heal soon. Ghost touched the neck that was cut by Bai Yu and said jokingly. Hearing this, Bai Yu was not surprised at all. Bai Yu naturally knew the ghost's recovery ability. They cannot be killed with ordinary weapons. Special weapons must be used, such as the Nichiren sword used by Tomioka Giyu. The Nichiren sword is the weapon used by most of the Demon Slayer core, and only a few special demon hunters have more special weapons. And Bai Yu's demon slaying sword is more advanced than the Nichiren sword. After all, it is a gift from the system. Even if it is a free gift, it must have something special. Oh really? Bai Yu looked as if he had suddenly realized something. Just when Ghost was extremely proud and was about to heal the wound on his neck, the next moment, Ghost's expression suddenly became horrified and surprised. What's going on? Why won't the wound heal? I forgot to tell you that I have the ability to inhibit wound healing. If you are cut by my knife, even if you are a ghost, your wound will not heal instantly. Bai Yu said slowly. How is it possible? The ghost was horrified. For the ghost, this was not a good thing, because if it lost too much blood, even if it was a ghost, even if it didn't die, it probably wouldn't pose any threat. After the panic, the ghost immediately calmed down. Although its wound couldn't heal now, such a large amount of bleeding didn't pose any threat to the ghost. Soon, it found that its wound showed signs of healing, but the speed was very slow. However, compared with humans, this healing speed was also very fast. The ghost, who discovered this, immediately showed an arrogant and playful expression, and then said to Bai Yu, I was almost scared by you. Although your sword has the ability to inhibit wound healing, it is only inhibition. I can feel that my wound is healing by itself, but it just takes some time. Hearing this, Bai Yu did not show much surprise. The characteristics of the Demon Slayer sword are just as the ghost said, it only plays a certain inhibitory role. Facing the ghost's own super recovery ability, the Demon Slayer sword cannot completely prevent the wound from healing. So what? My sword can hurt you, and it can definitely kill you. You know, my ghost sword has been thirsty for a long time. Bai Yu was not panicked, and said coldly to the ghost. After speaking, the ghost blood on the blade of the Demon Slayer sword was instantly absorbed. This is also the characteristic of the Demon Slayer sword. It can absorb the blood of ghosts. The more it absorbs, the more powerful the Demon Slayer sword is to ghosts, and its own characteristics will also be enhanced. For example, the ability to inhibit wound recovery. Bai Yu's words calmed down the arrogant ghost. It felt that the man in front of it was not someone who could be easily bullied. The ghost looked around and noticed Tanjiro standing at the door of the temple. Without any hesitation, the ghost shifted its target to Tanjiro. The ghost was very fast. Before Bai Yu could catch up, the ghost had already appeared in front of Tanjiro, and then grabbed Tanjiro and Nezuko, and finally lifted the siblings up. The feeling of suffocation brought Tanjiro back to his senses, but it was useless for him to resist now. Chapter 12 Guidance. Ha ha ha. The ghost laughed triumphantly. With the hostage in hand, it had the capital to be arrogant in front of Bai Yu again. Look at what I have in my hand. If you don't want them to die, hand over the knife in your hand. The ghost directly ordered Bai Yu. In its view, the most threatening thing is the Demon Slayer sword, so it thinks that as long as Bai Yu loses the Demon Slayer sword, he will just be food for it to slaughter. Assuming Bai Yu doesn't obey, then it will naturally eat the brother and sister, and then make itself stronger, and finally kill Bai Yu. Of course, this is all the ghost's speculation. In fact, Bai Yu didn't take the ghost's threat seriously at all. First, even if the ghost eats Tanjiro, it won't affect him. Second, Nezuko is also a ghost, so there is no need to be afraid that this wild ghost can easily kill her. Third, as a ghost, Nezuko's fighting power is naturally not to be underestimated. Although she has never eaten people, you use them to threaten me, which is the most stupid behavior. Bai Yu said lightly. As soon as Bai Yu finished speaking, Nezuko suddenly rioted and kicked the head of the ghost off in midair. How is it possible? This girl is actually a ghost. Why is she mixed with humans? Activate water breathing. Just as Nezuko kicked, Bai Yu used the water breathing method obtained as a mission reward. After using water breathing, Bai Yu's body functions were significantly improved. In a breath of time, Bai Yu came to the headless ghost body, and then the demon sword chopped the ghost hand that pinched Tanjiro's arm. In the end, Tanjiro fell to the ground together with the chopped ghost hand. Tanjiro, who was saved, tore off the ghost's hand at once, and then said to Bai Yu, "Thank you, senior." Bai Yu ignored Tanjiro's thanks, but said to him, "The ghost head that was kicked off is left to you to deal with. Just treat it as a test for you. Don't let him run away. Otherwise, more people will be hurt, just like your family." Hearing this, Tanjiro was stunned. He didn't expect Bai Yu to let him deal with the ghost, but Bai Yu's next words did touch him. "Senior, what about you?" Tanjiro asked curiously before taking action. "Of course, I have to deal with this ghost body, and at the same time I have to protect your sister," Bai Yu replied. Tanjiro soon realized that Bai Yu alone could not take care of the ghost, whose head and body had been separated. If Bai Yu relied on himself, it is very likely that he would let go of part of it. The ghost has a strong regeneration ability. As long as it is not completely killed, even if only a small part of the body is left, it can recover. I understand. Tanjiro didn't ask any more questions. He picked up the axe he had used for many years and went to deal with the ghost head. Bai Yu used the water breathing again and swung more than a dozen knives at the headless ghost body. Bai Yu's attack was not strong. The blade only left scars of varying depths on the ghost body and did not decompose the ghost body. Of course, this is the effect Bai Yu wanted. After all, this ghost body is not the main body of the ghost. If it is decomposed, it will only increase the ghost's clones and increase the ghost's chance of escaping successfully. If you want to know why Bai Yu didn't kill the ghost's main body directly, one of the reasons is because of Tanjiro. After all, he is the protagonist of this world. This is what he should have experienced. If Bai Yu did everything for Tanjiro, it would trigger a butterfly effect, which would cause unpredictable serious consequences. So Bai Yu knew that his existence could only serve as a guide, not a leader. Chapter 13 Solve it. More importantly, in front of Bai Yu, Nezuko seems more important. After all, this is related to Bai Yu's own life and death. So everything Bai Yu does is only related to the task, and Bai Yu will naturally ignore anything that is not related to the task. Under the characteristics of the demon slaying sword, the attack that originally hurt the demon gradually played its due effect. Because the wounds on the demon body were suppressed by the characteristics of the demon slaying sword and could not heal in a short time, a large amount of blood gushed out of the wounds and stained the entire demon body. The whole demon body was red, like a bloody corpse. The countless wounds cut by the blade made this demon body even more terrifying. It can be said that this is 100 times more cruel than killing the demon directly. Bai Yu's approach is like being cut into pieces by thousands of knives without any mercy in it. Because the demon body lost a lot of blood, the movements of the demon body became extremely slow and it almost fell down completely. As the main body of the demon head, it was also greatly affected. Although these effects were not fatal, they gave Tanjiro the opportunity to fight back. The demon head with 2 arms was confronting Tanjiro. The axe that Tanjiro wanted to chop with the demon head was grabbed by the 2 hands that the demon head had grown, and the demon head's hair was entangled in the handle of the axe. 1 man and 1 demon head were fighting for the control of the axe. The demon head, affected by the demon body, suddenly lost a lot of strength. Tanjiro immediately seized the opportunity and hit the demon head with his hard head. The demon head was a little dizzy and completely lost his strength. Tanjiro seized the opportunity again and swung the axe towards a tree trunk with all his strength. Because the demon head's hair was still entangled in the handle of the axe and the demon head was a little dizzy, he had no time to separate from the axe and was finally nailed to the tree trunk by the axe. On the other hand, Bai Yu's demon body finally fell down completely under Bai Yu's countless strikes. The blood flowing from the demon body was all around the demon body. The blood had dyed the ground red, and the air was filled with a thick bloody smell. Seeing the ghost body fall down, Bai Yu stopped slashing his sword. After countless slashes, the demon slayer sword also absorbed a lot of ghost blood, and the blade was now shining with purple light. Upgrade of demon slayer sword, lower grade of common level, upper grade of common level, property effects strengthened by 5%. At this time, the broadcast of the super dimension crossing system came to Bai Yu's mind. Bai Yu couldn't help but feel happy. The demon slayer sword was upgraded like this. If this demon slayer sword was placed in a pool full of ghost blood for a night, wouldn't it be upgraded to a divine weapon? Bai Yu was a little excited just thinking about it, but this idea should be a little unrealistic. It is estimated that subsequent upgrades may require blood. This is Bai Yu's personal guess. After all, when Bai Yu became a super dimensional crossover, he played a lot of online games, so he naturally understood the routines. Senior, I have controlled the ghost head. Come over quickly. Tanjiro waved and called Bai Yu over. Bai Yu put the demon slayer sword back into the scabbard and then said to Nezuko, come with me. After that, Bai Yu walked towards Tanjiro. Nezuko seemed to understand Bai Yu's words, so she followed Bai Yu and walked over. Tanjiro, kill it. Bai Yu looked at Tanjiro and said lightly. Chapter 14, Yurakoda Kisakonji. Kill it. Senior Bai Yu, you are kidding. How can I do this? Tanjiro looked at Bai Yu in surprise, obviously not understanding what Bai Yu said. Shouldn't Bai Yu do this himself? How could he do it? If you can't do it, what can you do to protect your sister? How can you avenge your family? Or have you let go of your hatred and are ready to live like this for the rest of your life? Bai Yu questioned Tanjiro. Tanjiro shook his head and denied, no. If not, then kill the guy in front of you. The road you are going to take next is even more dangerous than now. Bai Yu's tone was filled with irresistible majesty. Tanjiro didn't dare to say anything more. While hesitating, Tanjiro tremblingly took out the knife from his waist and held it in front of the ghost. At this moment, a hand stretched out from behind Tanjiro, and that hand was placed on Tanjiro's shoulder. That kind of thing can't kill it. A slightly old voice sounded. Bai Yu and Tanjiro were startled at the same time. They both looked in the direction of the voice. It was a man wearing a Tengu mask, a turban on his head, and a sky blue robe. There was a pattern of water splashes on his robe. Judging from the old voice, this man is at least over 50 years old. Although he is old, his body is unusually straight and the whole person is very lively. What surprised Bai Yu was that he didn't even notice the old man approaching him. If the other party wanted to harm him, he would have been hit by it now. However, it may be that the other party did not have any killing intentions, so he could come so quietly. Just when Bai Yu was sighing, Bai Yu remembered the identity of the old man. This is the person Tanjiro is looking for, Urakoda Kisakonji. Urakoda Kisakonji, a practitioner of the water breathing school, and also a trainer who trains new ghost hunters for the Demon Slayer Corps. Tomioka Giyu is his disciple. Then how can I kill it? Tanjiro asked in shock. Don't ask others. Can't you use your own brain to think about it? Urakoda Kisakonji replied. After that, Urakoda Kisakonji looked at Bai Yu, and Bai Yu smiled faintly to show respect. Tanjiro began to think, and finally he found a big stone, and held it in his hand. But when he really wanted to do it, Tanjiro still hesitated. This child is not good to considerate of others, and can't make a decision. Even when facing Ghost, the gentle smell still did not dissipate, and he even had sympathy for Ghost. Giyu, is this the child you found? Urakoda Kisakonji looked at Tanjiro's performance, and murmured in his heart. Bai Yu also watched quietly from the side, and didn't say anything more. Now that Tanjiro's true life mentor has appeared, Bai Yu doesn't need to make do with it anymore. Time passed by minute, and the fainted Gitao gradually woke up. You bastard. I'm going to kill you. I'll eat you up completely. Come over here, hey. I can't get over here. Come here, hey. The demon head nailed to the tree trunk by an axe, waved the two hands on his head, and shouted at the hesitant Tanjiro. At this time, the sun gradually rose and the sunlight soon hit. The demons exposed to the sunlight began to burn and dissipate little by little, and let out a painful howl, and finally the demon head completely dissipated in front of Tanjiro. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 15, Indecision. When Tanjiro saw this scene, he was so frightened that he came back to his senses from his entanglement, and the big stone in his hand slipped and fell to the ground. As long as it is exposed to the sun, it will be reduced to ashes? No wonder Nezuko resists the sun. Tanjiro was scared. In panic, Tanjiro looked around and looked for his sister and Bai Yu. Nezuko. Bai Yu Sr. Tanjiro shouted immediately. Where would they go? While he was hesitating. Thinking of this, Tanjiro ran back to the door of the Buddhist temple again, and then stood outside the door and looked inside. Finally, in a dark corner, he saw Nezuko curled up in a bamboo basket and Bai Yu sleeping next to the bamboo basket. After seeing the two, Tanjiro was relieved, and Tanjiro did not wake up Bai Yu. When Tanjiro turned his head to look at an open space outside the Buddhist temple, Tanjiro saw Urakoda Kisakonji. I saw that Urakoda Kisakonji was worshipping those who were killed by the ghost. Those towering small mounds were the places where Urakoda Kisakonji dug out to bury the dead. Tanjiro walked over and wanted to talk to the other party. As soon as he finished speaking, Urakoda Kisakonji stood up and said, I'm Urakoda Kisakonji. The people that Tomioka Giyu mentioned are you, and that young man, right? Yes, my name is Tanjiro Kamado, that young man is Shiraha-senpai, and my sister is Nezuko. After Tanjiro knew that the other party was the person he was looking for, he took the initiative to introduce himself. Urakoda Kisakonji did not pay much attention to Tanjiro's introduction, but suddenly stood up, looked at Tanjiro and asked, Tanjiro, what will you do when your sister eats people? Tanjiro was stumped by Urakoda Kisakonji's words again. He really didn't know how to answer such a question. Seeing that Tanjiro was at a loss, Urakoda Kisakonji walked towards Tanjiro and slapped him. As long as I'm here, there is no possibility that his sister will eat people. If she does, don't bother you, old man. I will end Nezuko's life with my own hands. At this moment, Bai Yu suddenly appeared in front of the two of them. Bai Yu leaned against the wall of the Buddhist hall with a calm face. After saying that, Bai Yu yawned and stretched. Yurakoda Kisakonji turned his head and looked at Bai Yu. Yurakoda Kisakonji still admired Bai Yu very much because Bai Yu was very sensible, calm, and decisive, and had no indecision. This was the psychological quality that a strong man should have. Shiraha is right. Tanjiro, you are too slow to make judgments. Until dawn, you still failed to give a demon the final blow. Why didn't you answer the question just now? It's because you are not firm enough in your heart. When your sister eats people, there are only two things you have to do. Kill your sister, and then kill yourself. With a sister who has turned into a demon, you have to bear such consequences. So, you must not let this happen. Do you understand what I said? Yurakoda Kisakonji taught Tanjiro in a serious tone. Yes, I understand. Facing Yurakoda Kisakonji's teachings, Tanjiro responded sincerely. Well, let me test whether you are suitable to become a demon hunter of the Demon Slayer Corps. After Yurakoda Kisakonji finished speaking, he turned his gaze to Shiraha again, and then continued. Your name is Shiraha, right? You come too. I heard from Giyu that you are also a special guy. Chapter 16. Yurakoda Kisakonji's shock. For ordinary people, it's really special. Bai Yu said lightly. Follow my pace, don't fall behind. Yurakoda Kisakonji did not continue to inquire about Bai Yu's situation. As soon as Yurakoda Kisakonji finished speaking, Yurakoda Kisakonji rushed out at an extremely fast speed and without any sound. Tanjiro didn't react at once. Bai Yu immediately yelled at Tanjiro and then told him to catch up. Tanjiro then followed behind, and Bai Yu did not stay any longer and hurried into the Buddhist hall, carrying the bamboo basket containing Nezuko on his back. In just a few seconds, Yurakoda Kisakonji and Tanjiro disappeared. Bai Yu began to use water breathing to improve his body functions. If he ran normally, he would obviously not be able to catch up with them, not to mention that Bai Yu was carrying Nezuko. Yurakoda Kisakonji, who was running in the front, turned his head and looked behind him. He found that there was only Tanjiro 100 meters behind him, and Bai Yu seemed to have fallen behind. Yurakoda Kisakonji couldn't help but wonder, could it be that Bai Yu was not as good as Tanjiro? On Tanjiro's side, Tanjiro was worried that Bai Yu would fall behind, so he used the branches he picked up to draw a running route on the ground while running. Tanjiro knew that Bai Yu was going to take care of Nezuko. If he had taken care of Nezuko with his reaction and speed, he would have been left behind by Yurakoda Kisakonji. After Bai Yu chased out, he soon found scratches on the road. For this extremely fresh scratch, Bai Yu thought about it and knew that it was a mark left by Tanjiro. So Bai Yu followed them closely all the way, relying on the remaining breath of Yurakoda Kisakonji and the mark left by Tanjiro. Bai Yu, who has mastered the water breathing, naturally has physical functions that ordinary people cannot match. In addition, Yurakoda Kisakonji has to take into account Tanjiro's physical fitness, so it is naturally impossible for him to give his full strength. As time went by, Bai Yu gradually caught up with Tanjiro. When Bai Yu ran to Tanjiro's side, he saw Yurakoda Kisakonji 100 meters away. Tanjiro was able to keep a distance from Yurakoda Kisakonji so that he could see him. He was really good at it. At this time, Tanjiro's breathing was extremely heavy and rapid. When he saw Bai Yu chasing him, he showed a happy expression and wanted to talk to Bai Yu. Control your breathing, now is not the time to talk. Bai Yu interrupted Tanjiro's idea of talking to him before he opened his mouth. Hearing this, Tanjiro also understood that his current state was really not suitable for speaking. Now, he even had some difficulty controlling the rhythm of his breathing, let alone speaking. However, when Tanjiro saw that Bai Yu was not tired at all and his steps were extremely brisk, he couldn't help but secretly envy and admire him. If you want to become stronger, pass the test of old man Yurakoda Kisakonji and then learn how to become stronger from him. Bai Yu spoke to Tanjiro again. This time, Tanjiro nodded and adjusted his breathing. The two of them followed slowly, neither shortening the distance with Yurakoda Kisakonji, nor staying too far from him. Did he catch up? Yurakoda Kisakonji sensed Bai Yu catching up, and turned his head to look at him. Wait, this guy's actually using water breathing. Chapter 17 Boiled Fish Fillet. No mistake, this is the breath of water breathing. Who taught this guy how to breathe? Yurakoda Kisakonji muttered to himself, startled. Every demon hunter has his own breathing. The breathing schools all started with the original sun breathing, which is also the origin of all breathing. Because the sun breathing is very powerful and overbearing, not everyone is suitable to learn it. Therefore, after a long period of development, there are 5 major breathing methods derived from the sun breathing. Water breathing, flame breathing, rock breathing, wind breathing, thunder breathing, and in the long river of history, some people have derived new breathing methods based on these 5 breathing methods. Among the 9 pillars of the Demon Slayer core, there are pillars that use breathing methods derived from the 5 major schools. Because of the special nature of the pillars, there will not be pillars with the same breathing among the pillars. There is only one pillar corresponding to each breathing method. Only when the current pillar abdicates due to force majeure or dies in battle, the position of the pillar can be inherited by the next qualified person. The pillar is just a title of the Demon Slayer core. It is not noble, nor is it a symbol of power. As a pillar, the mission is to completely eradicate demons from this world. As time passed, it was dusk in the afternoon. Yurakoda Kisakonji stopped in front of a small wooden house. Bai Yu and Tanjiro, who arrived later, also stopped. Tanjiro fell to the ground tiredly and breathed heavily. Bai Yu still stood in front of Yurakoda Kisakonji with steady breathing. Anahuhuhu Yurakoda Ki Senior, have I and Bai Yu Senior passed the test? He Tanjiro asked with a sense of relief. Yurakoda Kisakonji opened the door of the wooden house and said, Bai Yu's test is over, and your test is just starting now. Come up the mountain with me. Hearing this, Tanjiro took a breath of cold air. Bai Yu, you stay here, and look after Tanjiro's sister. When I come back, I have something to ask you. Yurakoda Kisakonji said to Bai Yu. Hearing this, Bai Yu looked at Tanjiro, who was a little collapsed, and then said, don't let me down. After that, Bai Yu walked into the cabin and put Nezuko on the wooden bed in the dark. At this time, Nezuko didn't know why she fell asleep. Bai Yu didn't mean to wake Nezuko up, but sat cross-legged on the ground and began to rest. Tanjiro watched Bai Yu put his sister in place, so he said to Bai Yu, Senior Bai Yu, I will definitely pass the test. Bai Yu glanced at Tanjiro and didn't say much, just nodded. Let's go, Tanjiro. Yurakoda Kisakonji's urging soon sounded. Tanjiro didn't stay any longer, turned around and went up the mountain with Yurakoda Kisakonji. Tanjiro had no idea what kind of test he would take when he went up the mountain. Bai Yu, who was waiting in the cabin, waited for Yurakoda Kisakonji to come back after nightfall. Bai Yu looked around him and found that Tanjiro was not there, so he became a little confused. However, Bai Yu did not ask immediately. After all, Bai Yu knew that the old man would not let Tanjiro die. The two looked at each other for a while, and finally it was Yurakoda Kisakonji who spoke first. Let's have boiled fish fillet tonight. Chapter 18. Summoning Bai Yu. Hearing this, Bai Yu noticed the 2 fish in Yurakoda Kisakonji's hand. Bai Yu didn't know the types of fish, so he didn't know what kind of fish it was. Bai Yu didn't have any requirements for food, as long as it wasn't dark cuisine. So, Bai Yu nodded. Then Yurakoda Kisakonji threw the fish to Bai Yu, and then said, the fish is left to you. There is a chopping board and a fish knife outside the house. Bai Yu took the 2 fish with some surprise. Looking at Yurakoda Kisakonji's look, there was obviously no room for negotiation. Bai Yu had no choice but to bite the bullet and walk out of the house. Looking around, Bai Yu saw the stove. The stove was very simple, but very clean. Although he had never killed a fish, Bai Yu was not an ordinary person without any skills. The clever Bai Yu quickly tried to kill the fish with the help of water breathing. The use of water breathing suddenly magnified Bai Yu's perception. With the help of strong perception, Bai Yu began to pick up the sharp fish knife and cut along the fish's skeleton. With just a few simple cuts, the fish head and bones were completely separated from the fish meat. At this time, the elusive Yurakoda Kisakonji suddenly appeared beside Bai Yu and reached out to take the fish bones that Bai Yu had separated. It's good to practice breathing to the point where you can do whatever you want. But you should be about the same age as Giyu, so you're still a little bit behind. Yurakoda Kisakonji commented. Bai Yu didn't have much emotional fluctuations when Yurakoda Kisakonji compared himself with Tomioka Giyu and said that he was a little worse than him. Bai Yu admitted that he was indeed not as strong as Tomioka Giyu, the current water pillar, but it would not be the case in the future. After all, he was a superdimensional traverser and a man with a system plugin. You are in a good mood. Even in the face of my deliberate belittlement, you can still be calm. You are a good seedling. Yurakoda Kisakonji praised again. This time, Bai Yu smiled faintly at Yurakoda Kisakonji. Remember to slice the fish thinner. Yurakoda Kisakonji knew that Bai Yu was a taciturn person, so he didn't expect Bai Yu to say a few more words to him. After giving Bai Yu the final instructions, he took the fish bones into the cabin. After returning to the cabin, Yurakoda Kisakonji threw the fish bones in his hand into the iron pot, set on the fire. The water in the iron pot had been roasted, and the purpose of his going out to get the fish bones was to make some fish bone soup as the soup base. After throwing the fish bones into the pot, Yurakoda Kisakonji took out the secret cooking recipe in his pocket and poured it into the pot. As the water boiled, the aroma began to spread with the heat. Bai Yu, who was slicing fish outside the house, also smelled the fragrance. The fragrance quickly aroused Bai Yu's appetite, and Bai Yu secretly swallowed his saliva. A few minutes later, Bai Yu had completely sliced the fish. Then, Bai Yu walked into the cabin with a plate of fish slices. Yurakoda Kisakonji knelt at one end of the iron pot, and there was a mat at the other end, which was obviously prepared by Yurakoda Kisakonji for Bai Yu. Bowls and a pile of dipping sauces were placed on both sides of the iron pot. It was obvious that the dipping sauce was used to dip the fish fillets. Take a seat. Yurakoda Kisakonji said to Bai Yu leisurely. Bai Yu responded, and then placed the 2 plates of fish fillets in his hand on both sides of the iron pot, and finally knelt on the mat opposite like Yurakoda Kisakonji. Chapter 19. Yurakoda Kisakonji's advice. With the sound of the fragrant fish soup boiling in the iron pot, the atmosphere seemed unusually quiet. Bai Yu and Yurakoda Kisakonji were silent for a long time, and then Bai Yu took the lead to say, "Old Yurakoda-ki, please." Hearing this, Yurakoda Kisakonji took off his Tengu mask, and Yurakoda Kisakonji's face was also exposed in front of Bai Yu. When Bai Yu saw the old man's appearance, he was not very surprised or shocked. However, judging from the old man's age, he should be over 60 years old. Although he is over 60 years old, he still maintains an extremely resolute spirit. Yurakoda Kisakonji, who took off the Tengu mask, did not start immediately, but asked Bai Yu, before starting, "I want to know who taught you your water breathing?" Hearing this, Bai Yu did not expect the old man to ask this. Slightly surprised, Bai Yu replied, "I saw Tomioka Giyu use it, so I tried to imitate it. I didn't expect the effect to be so good." Of course, this is all Bai Yu's exaggeration. As for why he said that, of course, he wanted to properly improve his own style. This time, Yurakoda Kisakonji did not show a surprised expression, but his expression became more solemn. The reason why he was not surprised was that Yurakoda Kisakonji thought Bai Yu was bragging. He himself was a practitioner of water breathing, and he knew that learning breathing methods was not something that could be achieved simply by imitating. It was necessary to explore and familiarize with the breathing method itself little by little with the unity of mind and spirit, and finally make this breathing become the body's instinct through continuous repetition of practice. Learning the water breathing method belonging to the 5 major schools is not as easy as you say. You can't reach your level by imitating alone. It took Giyu 2 years to reach your current level. Yurakoda Kisakonji continued to say lightly. Bai Yu did not refute anything, but continued, "Old senior Yurakoda-ki, you have to believe that there are geniuses in this world, and I'm one of them." Without any extra explanation, Bai Yu attributed the reason why he could breathe water to his genius. After all, Bai Yu had nothing to say about the system, and there was no need to explain the existence of the system to Yurakoda Kisakonji. Hearing this, Yurakoda Kisakonji suddenly laughed, and this laughter seemed to say that Bai Yu was a little arrogant. Soon, Yurakoda Kisakonji's laughter suddenly stopped, and his expression became a little sad. "I also had a very outstanding disciple before. He was even better than Giyu, but he paid with his life because of his arrogance. It's not so much arrogance as excessive concern for others, which results in hurting himself. In order to save all the people who participated in the selection, he eventually ran out of energy and fell on the mountain. The final result was naturally that he was eaten by a ghost. Urukoda Kisakonji slowly told Bai Yu about this, but Bai Yu didn't understand the specific intention of the old man telling him this. Was it just to tell him not to be arrogant? Or did he not die if he didn't commit suicide? I told you this because I want to tell you that, since you think you are a genius, don't let me see this tragedy happen again. Excessively doing things beyond your ability is actually a manifestation of arrogance. After listening to Urukoda Kisakonji's story, Bai Yu finally understood. It turned out that it was his own thoughts that reminded him of his deceased disciple, so he said so many heavy words. Chapter 20. I will definitely live longer than you. In fact, the old man was also afraid that he would lose his life because of his blind self-confidence and arrogance. Although the disciple of Urukoda Kisakonji was not arrogant objectively, he showed arrogance in his behavior. As Urukoda Kisakonji said, doing things beyond one's ability is a manifestation of arrogance. Even if the starting point of this matter is good, it may hurt oneself in the end. Don't worry, old man. I will definitely live longer than you. Bai Yu joked Urukoda Kisakonji in order to ease the somewhat heavy atmosphere. Hey, Urukoda Kisakonji sighed for a long time and finally didn't say anything more to Bai Yu, so he picked up the bowl and chopsticks and signaled to Bai Yu, let's eat. After that, Urukoda Kisakonji had already started eating with chopsticks and no longer cared about who Bai Yu learned the water breathing from. The older generation started to eat, and Bai Yu also started to eat. The two of them ate the fish fillets very quietly, and the dipping sauce for the fish fillets was very delicious. Bai Yu thought that this dipping sauce was also suitable for dipping beef or other hot pot ingredients. As time passed, the fish fillets on the plate became less and less, and finally they were completely eaten by Bai Yu and Urukoda Kisakonji. After eating the fish fillets, both of them scooped a bowl of hot fish soup and drank it slowly, and the sense of comfort in life slowly emanated. The cold wind at night slowly blew into the house, and the weak flames under the iron pot danced with the wind. A few sparks flew into the sky, and then after burning out the last bit of heat, they completely disappeared from this world. When Bai Yu and Urukoda Kisakonji were about to finish the fish soup in their bowls, the door outside the wooden house was pushed open, and they saw the embarrassed Tanjiro gasping for breath. Tanjiro looked at Shirahara and Urukoda Kisakonji, who were drinking fish soup, and said with his last breath, I'm back. As soon as he finished speaking, Tanjiro ran out of energy and fainted at the door. At this time, Shirahara and Urukoda Kisakonji put down their bowls and chopsticks. Urukoda Kisakonji, who put down his bowls and chopsticks, stood up, then walked in front of Tanjiro, and murmured to the fainted Tanjiro, I recognize you, Tanjiro. After that, Urukoda Kisakonji picked up Tanjiro, and then put Tanjiro next to Nezuko. Tanjiro's breathing was very weak. Such a high intensity test was indeed his limit. If it weren't for his super strong will, Tanjiro would have fainted before he passed the test. At noon the next day, Tanjiro woke up from his coma. He felt a soreness all over his body, which was the sequelae of high intensity exercise. His Tanjiro groaned against the soreness of his body and tried to get up. However, at this time, Tanjiro's muscles could no longer be controlled by him. After trying for a long time, Tanjiro still couldn't get up. However, Tanjiro's nose smelled a familiar smell, and following the smell, Tanjiro turned his head. Then, he saw Nezuko sleeping beside him. Nezuko! Tanjiro shouted with joy. At this time, the sound of fighting outside the house attracted Tanjiro's attention. Tanjiro, who had recovered a little, slowly pushed open the door of the wooden house. Outside the house, Bai Yu was practicing with bamboo swords with Urukoda Kisakonji. The two of them were fighting with the bamboo swords. The crisp snapping sounds of the bamboo swords colliding echoed in Tanjiro's ears. Chapter 21. Practice 1. Your reaction is quite fast, but your attack power is weak. Every time you draw your sword, your body is reacting instinctively. When you draw your sword, your breathing does not mobilize all the functions of your body 100%. During the confrontation, Urukoda Kisakonji pointed out Bai Yu's shortcomings. As soon as he finished speaking, Yurakoda Kisakonji took a breath, and then the whole person suddenly burst out with amazing momentum and strength, and Bai Yu's bamboo sword was cut off in an instant. The broken edge of Bai Yu's bamboo sword was unusually flat, as if it was cut off by a sharp blade. Bai Yu was a little absent-minded. After a short period of absence, Bai Yu showed a faint smile, then clasped his hands together and thanked Yurakoda Kisakonji. "Thank you for your advice." In fact, Bai Yu also understood why there was such a big gap between him and the old man. The most fundamental reason was that Bai Yu did not understand swordsmanship at all, so when Bai Yu faced Yurakoda Kisakonji, he could only respond through his body's instincts. "Bai Yu, although you can control the water breathing freely, you have no experience in kendo. Perhaps, as you said, you learned the water breathing by imitation. You are a genius." Yurakoda Kisakonji praised Bai Yu again. Bai Yu was not surprised that Yurakoda Kisakonji saw that he was a kendo novice. After all, he was an old man, so he naturally had this kind of vision. The next step in your training is to learn kendo and comprehend it. Let's stop here today. Go back to the house and rest. After explaining to Bai Yu, Yurakoda Kisakonji looked at Tanjiro, who was standing at the door of the wooden house, and then said to Tanjiro, "Come with me, Tanjiro." After that, Yurakoda Kisakonji turned and walked away in one direction. Tanjiro followed him after realizing it, and when he passed by Bai Yu, Tanjiro couldn't help but remind Bai Yu, "Senior Bai Yu, Nezuko is in your hands." Bai Yu nodded and didn't say much. Bai Yu, who returned to the cabin, couldn't help but lie down on the empty seat next to Nezuko, then stretched his body and sighed. "It seems that I have to live in this place for a long time." Bai Yu, who was a little bored, couldn't help but look at the sleeping Nezuko. The more Bai Yu looked at Nezuko's fair skin, the more he wanted to touch it. About half an hour later, Tanjiro and Yurakoda Kisakonji returned to the cabin again. "From now on, cooking will be left to you. Go kill the fish. This is also a kind of practice for you," Yurakoda Kisakonji told Tanjiro. "Yes, master." Tanjiro responded helplessly, and then took the 2 big fish he had just caught to the stove to deal with them. Tanjiro's title of master was also an acceptance and recognition of Yurakoda Kisakonji, and Tanjiro also regarded himself as Yurakoda Kisakonji's disciple. Without much talk, Yurakoda Kisakonji walked into the cabin. Then, he said to Bai Yu, who was lying next to Nezuko, "No matter how you look at it, she is still a ghost. Could it be that you still like her?" Hearing Yurakoda Kisakonji's joke, Bai Yu sat up suddenly, then smiled faintly, and didn't say much. And Yurakoda Kisakonji didn't take his words seriously, and then changed the subject and said, "Light up the fire. Today we will boil the fish fillets." In this way, Bai Yu and Tanjiro were busy making a fire and setting up the iron pot, and the other was busy preparing the fish. As for Yurakoda Kisakonji, he sat aside and rested his mind. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 22, Practice 2. The days that followed were basically like this. Shiraha would learn swordsmanship and sword techniques from Yurakoda Kisakonji every day, while Tanjiro would do his physical training on the side. At mealtime, Tanjiro would go to a designated place to catch raw fish. Tanjiro's compulsory project every night was to run back to the cabin from Mount Sagiri. Although this project doesn't sound difficult, according to Tanjiro's own account, there were many traps set up on the mountain by Yurakoda Kisakonji. Moreover, the location changed every day, and as Tanjiro became more and more comfortable, the nature of the traps gradually changed, from simple containment to the intention of killing Tanjiro. Tanjiro also came back from the beginning to only clean up the mess left by Shiraha and Yurakoda Kisakonji after dinner, and gradually became able to eat a few mouthfuls of leftover soup and rice, and then to come back halfway through dinner, and finally to be able to return to the cabin before dinner preparations began. Every night, Tanjiro has the habit of talking to Nezuko and writing a diary, while Bai Yu lies in his sleeping place, staring at the ceiling in a daze. After Tanjiro can avoid all the traps, Tanjiro also began to formally learn the basics of swordsmanship, swinging the sword. As Tanjiro grows up, he needs to learn more and more things. Bai Yu is still exploring the way of kendo and the 10 types of water taught by the old man. Compared with Tanjiro, Bai Yu has much less to learn. For example, Tanjiro must practice physical fitness every day. Bai Yu does not have to practice. During these long days, Tanjiro's sister Nezuko has been in a coma. Urukoda Kisakonji could not give a reasonable explanation for why Nezuko has been in a coma. Half a year later, Urukoda Kisakonji formally taught Tanjiro the key and essence of the water breathing method. Tanjiro, today I will teach you the water breathing method. You must listen carefully. Urukoda Kisakonji said to Tanjiro very seriously. Yes, master. Tanjiro immediately became serious. Bai Yu stood quietly beside Tanjiro without saying anything more. The breathing method is to let oxygen spread to every cell of the body through conscious long-term breathing, which can improve the body's natural healing power, as well as the body's strength and reaction ability. This kind of breathing is called full concentration breathing, and water breathing is to maintain a specific frequency of breathing on the basis of full concentration breathing. At a specific frequency, the rhythm of water will be generated. This is water breathing. The same is true for other breathings, and they all have their own rhythms. Tanjiro, now relax your upper body, stabilize your lower body, and then start breathing. Urukoda Kisakonji changed his tone and said to Tanjiro. Hearing this, Tanjiro began to try to breathe according to Urukoda Kisakonji's instructions. Just after taking a breath, Tanjiro's expression suddenly became painful and screamed. Looking around, it turned out that Urukoda Kisakonji hit Tanjiro in the abdomen with a palm. No, you need to focus on breathing. You must use your danshin to breathe in oxygen, not just your nose. Your nose is just a channel for oxygen to flow in. Try it again. Let the ki sink into your danshin and use your danshin to spread oxygen to every cell in your body. Yes, master. Tanjiro responded again, and then tried again. What happened next was Tanjiro's screams of failure after failure. Chapter 23 Bai Yu's highlight moment. On a waterfall, this place is where Tanjiro fishes. On this day, Urukoda Kisakonji brought Shiraha and Tanjiro to this place to practice sensing the rhythm of breathing. Of course, Urukoda Kisakonji knew that Shiraha no longer needed to do such practice and could activate water breathing at will. At this level, it is obvious that he knows the rhythm of water very well. So this is mainly a practice specifically for Tanjiro. Shiraha, Tanjiro, what you have to do today is to merge with the water. Urukoda Kisakonji said slowly to the two. Master, merge with the water, are you sure you are not kidding us? Tanjiro looked very surprised. Go. Urukoda Kisakonji did not explain or talk nonsense to Tanjiro and kicked him down the waterfall. Tanjiro fluttered a few times in the air and fell straight down. Then, Urukoda Kisakonji's eyes swept to Shiraha. After noticing the old man's gaze, Bai Yu did not give Urukoda Kisakonji a chance to kick him down and took the initiative to jump off the waterfall. In midair, Bai Yu had already started to breathe water, and then when he was about to fall into the water like Tanjiro, Bai Yu did a somersault, and finally the sole of his right leg was the first to touch the water surface. The originally flowing water surface suddenly seemed to be still, and Bai Yu's reflection was printed on the water surface. 1 second, 2 seconds, and 3 seconds passed, and Bai Yu did not drown in the water, but stood upright on the water surface, as if he was standing on a flat ground. Then, where Bai Yu's soles touched the water surface, ripples suddenly appeared, and the ripples suddenly spread and grew larger. After the ripples disappeared, the water surface began to flow again. At this time, Bai Yu's left leg slowly lowered, and then the whole person stood completely on the water surface. Tanjiro suddenly poked his head out of the water and saw Bai Yu standing on the water surface. He was even more shocked. This is too amazing. The master was not kidding. He really became one with the water. Well, not bad. Standing on the waterfall, Urukoda Kisakonji affirmed Bai Yu's performance in his heart. Bai Yu Senior, how did you do it? It's amazing. Tanjiro couldn't hold back his shock and excitement and shouted to Bai Yu. Bai Yu slowly walked towards Tanjiro, then came in front of him and said, Master the water breathing that the master taught you, and you can do it too. After that, Tanjiro had an additional training project, and under the instructions of Yurakoda Kisakonji, Bai Yu would also practice with Tanjiro. Oh Nezuko. I'm water. I'm water. I'm facing the torrent of the waterfall. Tanjiro instinctively howled, and finally Tanjiro couldn't withstand the impact of the waterfall and fainted. On the other hand, Bai Yu also stood under the waterfall, but he had already merged with the water. The rushing waterfall did not hit Bai Yu abruptly, but flowed silently over Bai Yu. Time passed in a flash, and a year passed. During this period, Tanjiro continued to practice as usual, and he gradually figured out the way to breathe. Suddenly one day, Yurakoda Kisakonji called Bai Yu and Tanjiro to his side. Tanjiro, I have nothing to teach you anymore. Hearing this, Tanjiro was stunned for a moment. He never thought that Yurakoda Kisakonji would say such a thing to him, because Tanjiro felt that there was no end to what he could learn from his master. Chapter 24 The final test. It will depend on you from now on, whether you can sublimate what I taught you. Your senior brother Bai Yu naturally needs no more words. His talent is higher than Giyu and you. If it weren't for waiting for you, he would have become a powerful existence in the Demon Slayer Corps like Tomioka Giyu. As for whether you can participate in the final selection of the Demon Slayer Corps, you still need to pass the last test. Come with me. After saying this, Yurakoda Kisakonji disappeared in a flash. Let's go, Bai Yu said to Tanjiro, and immediately followed. Tanjiro followed behind. The three of them had Sakonji Yurakodaki in front, Bai Yu in the second, and Tanjiro in the end. Finally, Yurakoda Kisakonji brought Bai Yu and Tanjiro to a relatively open space on Sajiri Mountain. After a year of reincarnation, Sajiri Mountain began to snow again. On the open space, there was a huge round stone standing there, and a thick hemp rope was tied to the stone. It should be Yurakoda Kisakonji who dragged it here. Tanjiro, as long as you can cut this boulder, I will allow you and Bai Yu to participate in the final selection of the Demon Slayer Corps. Yurakoda Kisakonji gave Tanjiro his final instructions. After that, he left quietly again. Tanjiro called out a few times in the direction where Yurakoda Kisakonji left, but he didn't stop Yurakoda Kisakonji from leaving. Looking at the huge stone in front of him, Tanjiro became a little skeptical. Can such a huge stone really be cut off with a knife in his hand? Thinking about it, Tanjiro looked at Bai Yu and asked, Senior Bai Yu, can you cut this boulder? Hearing this, Bai Yu nodded and said lightly, yes. Really? Senior Bai Yu? Then can you show me? Tanjiro couldn't wait to see how Bai Yu cut the boulder. No. Bai Yu refused Tanjiro's request without thinking too much. Why? Tanjiro was puzzled. This is the final test given to you by the old man, so I can't do any demonstration. Bai Yu replied. In addition to this reason, the reason why Bai Yu didn't demonstrate was that there was only one such huge stone. If Bai Yu cut the stone, it would be difficult to find an identical stone to give to Tanjiro. Another point is that, as the word said, this is the final test for Tanjiro, and Bai Yu doesn't want to interfere too much. Think about what the old man said with your brain, don't be unable to do it in your whole life. After Bai Yu finished speaking, he also walked away. Senior Bai Yu. Tanjiro was a little at a loss. Soon, Tanjiro was the only one left on Mount Sajiri. The cold wind and snow in winter danced leisurely in the mountains. The silence around made Tanjiro fall into thinking, and the words of Bai Yu and Yurakoda Kisakonji kept echoing in Tanjiro's ears. Sublimation? Are the things I learned just the fur, and not the essence? Tanjiro asked secretly in his heart. Thinking of this, Tanjiro swung his sword and tried. The blade made a sound of metal hitting hard objects when it hit the boulder. This made Tanjiro's whole body numb. Half a year passed like this. During this half year, without the guidance of Yurakoda Kisakonji, Tanjiro repeated his previous training every day, and tried to cut the boulder. And Shiraha would also take time to duel with Tanjiro, but Tanjiro lost miserably every time. Senior Shiraha, am I really useless? Half a year has passed, and I still haven't cut the boulder. Chapter 25, The Return of Yurakoda Kisakonji. Tanjiro, lying on the ground exhausted, began to doubt himself. Tanjiro, your breathing is too stiff, causing your body to react forcibly. For half a year, you simply memorized what the old man taught you. You haven't integrated the water breathing into your bones. If you don't overcome this, you won't be able to cut the boulder. Bai Yu slowly pointed out Tanjiro's fatal flaw. Although a year and a half of training did make Tanjiro grow a lot, his body did not completely sublimate and absorb what he learned during the training. Tanjiro's breathing was too stiff to fully exert the potential of the water breathing. Attacks launched at this level could not cut the boulder. In a flash, half a year has passed, and the world has repeated its cycle of a year. The winter snowflakes fell into Bai Yu's hands. Bai Yu stood outside the wooden house, looked up at the sky full of snow, and murmured, "It's snowing again." Another year has passed. During this year, Urukoda Kisakonji never appeared again. Bai Yu took care of everything in the wooden house, and Nezuko was also taken care of by Bai Yu. Because after that duel, Tanjiro has been on Sagiri Mountain, and has never come down. So for the past 6 months, Nezuko has been taken care of by Bai Yu. Regular wiping of the body is naturally indispensable, which is a good job in Bai Yu's view. In this way, Bai Yu naturally had close contact with Nezuko. When Tanjiro was there, this matter was naturally done by him as his brother. Helping Nezuko wipe her body is not that Bai Yu deliberately takes advantage of Nezuko, but if he ignores it, there will be a smell. At the beginning, seeing that Tanjiro did not return to the cabin, Bai Yu noticed the abnormality and went up the mountain to look for him himself. As a result, he found that Tanjiro was talking to the air near the boulder, as if he was possessed. However, just when Bai Yu was about to wake up Tanjiro, Tanjiro began to dance with the knife in his hand. Feeling that Tanjiro's knife movements were no longer stiff, and the control of breathing became more and more fluent, Bai Yu felt that Tanjiro might have entered the subconscious selfless state, which was a good fortune for him. So, Bai Yu did not choose to interrupt Tanjiro's good fortune, but let him completely sublimate himself in this good fortune. Unexpectedly, this wait lasted another half a year. During this half year, Bai Yu also checked on Tanjiro's situation regularly, but what he saw was either dancing with a sword or meditating, and sometimes talking to people. The most puzzling time was when Bai Yu tried to stand in front of him, and he seemed to not see Bai Yu's existence. Finally, under the prompt of the system, Bai Yu opened the ghost eye with the help of the power of ghosts and gods to really figure out Tanjiro's situation. It turned out that the ghosts of Sagiri Mountain locked Tanjiro in the spiritual world they constructed. Judging from the changes in Tanjiro, these ghosts should be helping Tanjiro grow, so Bai Yu did not intervene too much, but chose to wait quietly. At this time, Bai Yu saw a person walking in the distance. Bai Yu took a closer look and found that it was Urukoda Kisakonji who had left the cabin for a year. Bai Yu looked at Urukoda Kisakonji who walked in front of him, then smiled and said, "You're back." Old man Urukoda Kisakonji stood in front of Bai Yu, looked at Bai Yu for a long time, then nodded, responded, and asked, "Well, where is Tanjiro?" End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.